stop with that success anytime soon.
Yeah, the thing that I feel like defines NoHandsGamer more than anything, beyond his username, beyond even the decks that he's built, is just his work ethic. It's just clear that this guy lives and breathes Hearthstone, while, you know, it's pretty clear that some people want to juggle a different kind of thing, whether it's like content creation and doing a bunch of other things around the industry that's related activities. NoHands is just constantly jamming the game. And, you know, it seems like it's a game that, you know, incidentally matches up with his specialty being a very smart, handsome grandmaster from Americas. But also the fact that, you know, this guy really puts in the time, TJ, and it shows in a multitude of ways. So let's go ahead and hop into the game. We have the opening draw here. Already some good stuff coming out on both ends. For the Mage, Encounters Flow, and card draw for Enrico. Has other forms of card draw in discount to that Skull of Gul'dan.
Yeah, this is essentially going to be a race. Can NoHands kill him before Enrico can get that draw going? Skull in an awkward position, but as long as he picks up a demon, should be okay with dumpable cards. We've been talking about it for days, weeks now, that one of the benefits of OTK Demon Hunter in the current metagame is that it has a redundancy of options. And Enrico just going to go ahead and start getting closer to that skull already. Plays out a Talented Arcanist just to have a 1/3 on the board. No spells in sight to go for any type of spell damage boost.
Two philosophies with no demon in hand. You hate to see it for Enrico, as he does not have a demon to copy, therefore philosophy would feel like a waste. You do want to spend your mana efficiently. You want to get Skull on the far left side. Is that the time to play it? Probably not. So Enrico instead could perhaps use Illidari Studies, dig for a card that he's looking specifically, but he's limited on mana. And a lot of times, Illidari Studies has, you know, a very intentional effect. The card that you end up picking is the card you want to play immediately, and you might end up picking up something that is way too expensive. So Enrico probably going to just hold and pass here. He does. Okay. Can intellect.
Yeah, the timing of the Illidari Studies is interesting because if he wants to time Illidari Studies to get a discount on Skull of Gul'dan. So next turn he wants to play it and Philosophy. But by not playing it this turn, he opens up the opportunity to play an Outcast card that he would draw off the top and then still be able to get the discount, say Spectral Sight. So I like the hold here. And now, I mean, it's still an awkward turn. He wants to dump this Philosophy and he wants to get rid of this Illidari Studies, but not play the Outcast card this turn. So didn't work out quite as well as I'm sure that he would have hoped.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things where you're like, while it's not ideal, you can use this philosophy almost like you are using a Moarg Artificer to clear the board, and then you can Illidari Studies. Yes, it's not great. It's not optimal by any means. NoHands even just got information, right? Oh, he didn't even copy a card in his hand. He's just preparing for Skull of Gul'dan. So I like where Enrico's head's at, which is, yes, you don't get the optimal value, but hey, there's like some really good stuff that you're still able to try and do, right, by enabling your decks with Skull of Gul'dan and getting those discounts. That's more important ultimately than a third or fourth Moarg Artificer.
NoHands going to just keep rolling here with card draw, though. Everything he draws is going to be discounted. Already a ton of burn in hand. Most likely just coin a Pexis Blast here, try and get on the board. He is ramping up quick, and you want to get something on the board and start rolling when you know the Skull turn is coming, because that's the least likely turn that they're going to be able to have to try and swing things back and actually clear off the minion. So I like the setup for NoHands, and this is going to get scary real quick for Enrico.
Yeah, there's a lot of burn in hand, right? Fireball is 12 damage, Mask of Cthulhu is an extra 10, so 22 just from the hand, paired with the 5 that might get dealt through the minion on board. Enrico could kill it with a Chaos Strike, for example. Or even the Ethereal Arcanist and Fellscream Blast. It is very expensive to use those because you just set up your Skull of Gul'dan to get these discounts. Do you want to use it so liberally? Probably not. But at the same time, Enrico is aware that with Incanter's Flow and a bunch of card draw and taking too much damage, might end up receiving, or rather inviting No Hands just try to burn him out. And because he's drawn a good amount of cards, right? Enrico's drawn pretty much every single turn he possibly could have, and he's pretty much even with No Hands, despite having just played Skull of Gul'dan, just to go show you how much No Hands has been drawing himself. Okay.
Yeah. Hand space is an issue. 9 cards, so Font of Power only get 2 minions, but maybe that's enough. Okay, that's
Sure.
spell damage.
It's spell damage. You could play it now with a Fireball and then just get that expensive card out of the way. Can also Ruined Orb and Cram Session. The problem is hand space, like you were talking about, has a couple of cards that are basically useless right now because they're AoE response cards to the board. What else is he thinking of? Is he getting creative and saying, what if I just draw with 1 Cram Session instead of 2? He is. This is very interesting, and that's largely a nod to the fact that his hand size is kind of an issue. Oh my.
I mean, it's getting even tougher, right? Because he's trying to get a mix here of like damage, trying to acquire resources in hand, and also discounting the rest of his deck. But he's lacking card draw. But he's going into what he thinks will be a relatively clear board and has a mask set up for the next turn. Honestly, damage next turn with Solarian. Doesn't have another discounted Fireball, so won't be able to go for that. But it looks like he's in a pretty good position, all things considered. However, Enrico picks up the Il'gynoth, and he has spell damage in hand as well as a Fellscream Blast. So he's effectively a Moarg away from having enough damage in hand to kill. Very close.
Yeah, he's very close, and I like that he hasn't played the Solarian because we do talk about the fact that your opponent has cards to try to react to the board. That goes the other way, too. Demon Hunter wants to do this too maze. They need to play things like I-Beam and Fellscream Blast, ideally on their opponent's minions. If they use it on their own, they're trying to go for a kill. And so NoHandsGamer is giving fewer plays for Enrico, who also kind of struggles with some hand space issues. So this is very interesting back and forth dynamic here. Enrico not going to play minion, not playing either of the proactive threats that he could potentially start placing. And the burn is starting to add up. So next turn on 7, Fireball plus Apex's Blast is 11 damage from hand. And Mask of Cthulhu is 10 right now. I mean, that's a 2-turn lethal setup here for NoHandsGamer. And Enrico has to find a way to stabilize his life total without just throwing away his combo unnecessarily and backing himself into a corner.
Yeah, this is tough. I like the mask. Ooh.
Ooh.
It's not enough. Wait, with the weapon swing? Because he gets the full value, so it'd be +1 spell damage doubled, so it'd be 4. No, it's not enough.
Yeah, he does have the ability to Philosophy finally and copy something. But yeah, it's a little bit awkward. A surprising amount of minions in the hand. This deck is mainly spells with a few minions that help a boost to spells, but Enrico mainly just has minions to play here. Quite unfortunate.
Yeah.
I grow impatient.
It's actually 1 mana off being able to kill because the Blood Mage Thalnos alongside the Ethereal Og Merchant would be enough spell damage because that'd be 18 with just the 1 Fellscream Blast plus 4 from the weapon and then the Lifesteal effect. So that'd be exactly 22. 1 mana off.
Oh, wait, so had he played Raging Fellscreamer,
Had he played Raging Fellscreamer, it would have been lethal, yes.
No way. That's so close. That's if Enrico goes back and watches the game, he will be haunted by it. I mean, he probably knows it as well, right? Like he has identified, like, oh my gosh, I actually drew the Moarg. I almost had lethal. My Draki Wardblade was set up. I had Il'gynoth in hand. And NoHand's going to escape with a win in game number 2, showing you how thin the margins are in order to get a win with this deck, TJ. You know, it's so easy to lose control and just be a little bit off. 1 damage off, 1 mana off, 1 turn off, 1 draw off. Brutal stuff for Enrico, who looks very good up until the sequence where NoHandsGamer was burning. And the game plan was very clear, right? Like, NoHands telegraphed what he wanted to do starting from turn 5. So Enrico knew exactly what was coming, and yet couldn't stop that, which is got to be heartbreaking.
And you could tell, just like you said, how close that matchup can be, right? Because NoHands was faced with some difficult choices. If he doesn't play that second Incanter's Flow and instead tries to maybe push a little bit more in damage, then he doesn't have the mana to be able to play Pegasus Plus Fireball in that last turn. It might have lacked some damage in the long run because all Enrico needed was that single turn. And that's given his line of not finding a way to fit in Raging Fellscreamer, which you can't really blame for it because he didn't have Moarg in hand and didn't really have a meaningful way to cycle further in his deck as well. So rough game, but the Rogue remains for NoHandsGamer, and Rogue does have some weak points. It's not the end-all be-all of Tier 1 decks. It's one of those decks that's in pretty much most lineups, but is not being banned pretty much ever. So, and its win rate is middling at best for what we've seen thus far. NoHands is running the double animated broomstick version, which I've come to like a lot because it gives you that. I kind of just like weaves everything together. It lets you go for, obviously it's a battle cry, so you can use it for field contact to keep the train rolling, and you're also playing a lot of minions during that turn normally, and the small minions you can use to kind of trade off the board and go for these big tempo swings where you're also drawing cards. It fits quite nicely, though it can often lead to some awkward draws in the early game where you have this card that really isn't doing much. But I have liked it more times than not in seeing it and in practicing with it.
Absolutely. And, you know, Enrico probably is a little bit haunted by what things could have been, but you got to focus on what is present, which is taking down this Miracle Rogue. Enrico, we were told by Gia, is considered to be one of the top players, if not the top player from the Philippines. It's high praise coming from the top Filipino caster in Hearthstone as well. So I'm sure she is very much dialed in. And when you got Gia's stamp of approval in terms of the quality of play and juggling school and studies and yet qualifying for everything, you're okay in my book as well. And so to take down the #1 ranked player from the USA and the Americas at the moment would be a huge boon here for Enrico. If we can do it in game number 3 once more, Lifesteal combo Demon Hunter. NoHandsGamer does have the Cult Neophyte on 2 and the Efficient Octobot. These are really nice tools to help disrupt, or rather accelerate your game plan and disrupt the Demon Hunter. So it's a pretty decent start, especially if you get a chance to somehow get a discount going into your Kazakus turn. It's going to be very nice for NoHandsGamer.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent hand to get the discount on. It's just a lot of the times Demon Hunter's not going to let you. You usually have to do it yourself, but there it is. That's a way to do it yourself.
So, yeah. So here's like the interesting thing, right? Which is, you said Demon Hunter won't let you. If you play the Guardian Arg Merchant, are you playing Cult Neophyte and trying to tempo from this point forward? Or are you trying to, you know, hero power, take it a little bit slow, save Cult Neophyte for a more opportune moment, then use field contact and Cult Neophyte to draw a bunch? And it seems like NoHands is favoring the latter. Those were the 2 main lines And this one makes a lot more sense to me because, you know, with Miracle Rogue, you really want to keep every turn as smooth as possible, but also you want to power load them, right? Like really make it feel like every turn is another level of difficulty for your opponent to clear the board. So this is some really good setup here from No Hands, and Enrico has to play the Adraki Warblades and prepare for the worst here.
And doesn't swing because he knows that he does have Immolation Aura to kind of go for a wide board, and that's what he's kind of afraid of with this type of start is field contact. But No Hands going with the Kazakis instead because with the Swindle draw, next turn he can go field contact, Swindle, Cult Neophyte, and then like Shadow Step, Cult Neophyte. Something along those lines to build a big board, draw a bunch of cards, and block the ability for Enrico to remove everything. And picks up 1 mana Golem. I guess that's also just more flexibility with field contact. I didn't really see what he chose, but I'm really just going for a cycle and just the ability to kind of play that out and not have a 5-cost Golem stuck in hand.
Dealing with a couple of threats so far while keeping up his hand economy. Now No Hands can go off, so to speak, and really start to accelerate his resources. Enrico had his fun turn for a bit, drawing a bunch of cards. Now he can do the same. The Shadow Step on the Cult Neophyte, making it extra painful to play anything. Going into a turn where he knows that if Enrico is setting up for a Coin Skull or Gul'dan, it hurts extra bad.
And the Golem is stealth and give minions +1/+1, and because No Hands is played the Cold Neophyte twice, it means that like double Immolation Aura can't come out. Immolation Aura will be the entire turn, and it doesn't even fully clear off the board. This is actually pretty cool. It'll clear off some of it, but the 3 health is such an awkward breakpoint. And can't even like Talented Arcanist coin it or Ethereal Aug Merchant anything in Immolation Aura. This is a big deal. Also picks up Fireball from the Wand Thief. Even more burn, which is exactly what you want in this case, because usually you're trying to race. You're trying to build up as big of a board as possible and then burn with Wicked Stabs and with Fireballs. Even Alex Strasza can sometimes be a little bit too slow, since you know, that's around the time that the OTK Demon Hunter wants to kill you with their combo. This is an incredibly awkward turn. May have to just Immolation Aura and Ethereal Aug Merchant down the field contact and swing with the Eldraki Warblades into something else.
Yeah, it's exactly how you described it. No Hands has made this turn very painful. Even set up a 2-turn lethal because I counted 16, 17 on the board plus the Fireball. Obviously, he knows there's a low chance that that all happens. Full hand, Enrico has to have plays available, but it wasn't exactly pretty. And No Hands can continue the pressure. He's got Swindle, another efficient Octobot, 2 Swindles. Okay.
It activate can activate his own efficient Octobot as well with the Prize Plunder, which makes his hand incredibly cheap. 2 1-mana Swindles.
Initiating overdrive.
Oh, geez. Okay. More card draw. I mean, at this point, No Hands is going to deck out before Enrico. And Enrico's a deck that's built upon like half his deck being card draw.
Yeah.
Like it. Ticketmaster, maximum pressure. Sure, he could go for more card draw at this moment, but, you know, threatening lethal is really important. As a setup, Enrico has a second Immolation Aura and another Skull of Gul'dan drawn off the top. But is it time, TJ?
He'd have to coin first, since he has 9 cards in hand to make room for it, which would give him 1 mana. If he finds like Moarg, he could Moarg plus Fellscream Blast with the discount of Moarg, but even that doesn't really clear a lot off the board. Something that is not looked at very often, but No Hands has managed to actually have pretty good positioning against Fellscream Blast. Like the health is awkward. The 2 1 health minions are, you know, on kind of these opposite ends to make it awkward for Fellscream Blast to really do much.
Time grows short.
All right, well, feels like he's in a bad enough spot where he has to risk it for the biscuit. Could pick up some really powerful things. Yeah, you're right. Time is a factor, especially when you're playing on international ping. Needs to go kind of quick. The rope's burning out, TJ. This is looking really bad here for Enrico. I am scared just if he's getting this attack off in time. He did get it off, so 19 is the count. 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, plus 4, 11. Plus 6 is 17, 18 through the hero power. I think he's 1 off, but there are ways for No Hands to get that extra damage.
Yeah, could swindle first and hits Wicked Stab, it's lethal. If he doesn't hit it, he still has mana to Secret Passage and then hit Wicked Stab. So multiple outs for Wicked Stab. So I think Fireball Swindle is up first. There it is.
There it is. Just able to get there. And the OTK Lifesteal Demon Hunter drops another game. Really difficult spot for Enrico. No Hands executing very well, understanding the strengths and more importantly, the weaknesses of the deck, showing you why he is currently ranked #1 because not only is he great at executing game plan, his play is very tight and clean from both perspectives, maximizing his output, minimizing what his opponent can do. I mean, this guy is just, he's #1 ranked for a reason, and he is going to be the player to watch moving forward, heading into playoffs in just a few short weeks, TJ. And right now, he is 6-1 going into round number 8. Ridiculous.
Incredibly impressive. And, you know, just his kind of his work ethic, right? I mentioned it earlier, but because he's so high up in the standings, there's not really a threat for him to get relegated from Grandmasters. And he's putting in the work and the